Hey, my lovely audience, I'm Jasmine Sidhu and I welcome you all to my online tutorials. Today I am back again with a new video for you all. And before I start with my today's session, let me apprise you all that please drop a like if you like my video, do share my videos, and subscribe to my channel if you like the content. So let's begin quickly without further delay. So in my today's video, I have taken up the explanation of chapter 8 from Moment's book prescribed by CBSE for 9th class students. The name of the chapter is A House is Not a Home, and it has been beautifully penned down by Zan Gorizoso. And if I introduce this chapter to you, we'll come to know that over here the author is basically highlighting the thin difference between a house and a home. A house is a physical structure where people live, and a home is a place where a family lives together, sharing the unique bond of love and oneness. We'll see that how the author's house in the story gets destroyed due to fire, but when he received love, support, and concern from everyone around him, he realized that the emotion which was present in his home had grown even stronger after the fire tragedy. The story traces the problems that one faces when an older way of living comes crashing down, forcing one to rebuild life from a scratch. It examines how a seemingly tough situation can be turned into an advantageous one with the right attitude. So we'll see that how the protagonist of the story over here, that is Zan, he struggled with the changes in his life. He was a young boy, he was a teenager, and he feels awkward, strange, isolated, and embarrassed like any other teenager with the changes happening in his life. In the beginning of the story, he appears to have been a normal teenager who was rude to his mother and sometimes even hated her. After the fire, he is very shaken and insecure, and soon he matures and grows closer to his mother. The shock of almost losing his mother in the fire makes him realize how much he loves her, and he stops taking her for granted. The kindness of her new classmates and teachers who donate all kinds of necessities to help him overcome his losses from the fire touches him and makes him feel accepted and secure. He becomes less judgmental and more accommodating of the changes that take place in his life. Now, let's see how this incident happened and what is the background of the story. So, initially, how the story opens up, how the author is talking about his experience in a new school. The author says that his first year at high school was not pleasant. He had graduated his junior school and he took admission in the high school, right? So, in the junior school, when he compared, he had been the head of the class and had enjoyed the privileges given to a senior. He was in the senior most class in the junior school. But in the high school, he became the junior most, class in that high school. It was uncomfortable to be a fresher at the high school. The school was twice as big as the old one, and to make matters worse, his friends had got into other schools. So that was the reason why he was feeling lonely. He missed his old teachers as well. He would go back to his old school to meet his old teachers because over there he was the blue-eyed boy of the teachers, and in this new school he had to make a place for himself, which takes time. So the teachers, they used to encourage him to meet new people in the school and to get involved into the activities through which he will be highlighted, he will be able to present his personality, and he will be accepted in the school by the teachers and by the friends. So narrator, he tried to feel comfortable with these words of his teachers, but somehow in his heart he wasn't happy in his new school. But as I say, that being a teenager can be challenging at times because growing up has its own set of problems. But to tackle these problems, we should have patience and faith. And two qualities every teenager should inculcate in his or her personality. That is, number one, you should be open to the wonderful world around you. You should not have that timid personality and you should not be introvert. You should open up to this world around you. And number two, you should be thankful to God for little blessings which you have in your life. And believe me, life becomes more lovable. So anyhow, he had to fight with his own self to make a place for himself in this new school. And one fine day, one incident happened in his house. Now, what was that incident? One Sunday afternoon, when Zan was sitting at the dining table doing his homework, the day was actually cold and windy, so the mother has lit fire in the fireplace. He was doing his homework sitting at the dining table. He had a lovable red tabby cat who was playing around him, right? And the mother, she was time to time stoking the fire into the fireplace so that the room can be kept warm. And then suddenly he smelled something strange and he noticed it. And what was that? It was actually smoke pouring in through the seams of the ceiling. The smoke began to fill the room so quickly that barely they could see anything, and they were groping their way to the front door. And they were lucky enough that they were able to find the front door, and both mother and son, they ran into the front yard. By the time they were out, the whole roof was engulfed into flames. He ran to the neighbors to call the fire department, and when he was returning back, he saw his mother running back into the house. Now, by the time Zan reached there, his mother came out of the house. She was holding a small box of papers. She just threw it onto the lawn and she ran back again. She was actually trying to save important things. And now, for the second time, when she ran inside the house, Zan was knowing that why did she do so. Actually, Zan's father had died, and Zan was, very small when he passed away. So she had to save his pictures and letters, which were the only memories of his that they had. So at that point of time, Zan, he screamed at her, but the mother didn't listen and she went inside the house. Now Zan, he tried to run after her, but he was stopped by a firefighter. He told him that there is no need for you to worry. The other firefighters would bring her back. He wrapped Zan in a blanket and he made him sit in their car. After some time, a fireman came out of the house with Zan's mother behind him. He took her to the fire truck and he put an oxygen mask on her mouth because she has engulfed smoke and she was finding difficult to breathe. At that time, Zan, when he saw his mother, he ran to her and hugged her, and the thought of losing aroused affection in Zan's heart, and all thoughts of dislike vanished from his mind. It took almost 5 hours for them to control the fire. They sat in the car and they kept looking at the burning house. The house was totally burned down. And then Zan realized that his pet cat was missing. He could not find it. He got sad and depressing thoughts made him cry. Zan actually wanted to know about his cat, but he had to leave because they were not allowed to get into the rubbles of the house. So eventually they got into the car with none of their belongings. All they had were few blankets which were given by the firemen, and whatever the mother could rescue, that were the important pictures and documents. And with that they went to Zan's grandparents' house. They spent the night over there, and the next day it was Monday, and he was supposed to go to school. At the time of the fire, he was wearing the dress that he wore to the church on Sundays. He wasn't even having his shoes. So, to go to the school, he had to borrow tennis shoes from his aunt, right? And the dress was really dirty. He didn't want to go to school, but his mother forced him to go because she felt that if he'll sit in his house, he'll keep on brooding about the incident. So she was correct on her part, but on Zan's part, he was also correct because he was feeling embarrassed because of his clothes. He didn't have his bag, his books, and he didn't even complete his homework. Anyways, the situation made him so depressed that he wished to die, but he didn't want to oppose his mother, so he went to school. Now, on his way back from the school, the day passed at the school. He had mixed feeling. He felt as if he's a zombie walking, in the school. The day passed, and he was returning back to his house. And he walked through his burnt house, and he was shocked to see the extent of damage that has been caused by the fire. Now, the things that were saved were the ones which the mother had rescued, the papers, photos, and some personal items. Apart from that, everything was into the rubble. He had even lost his cat. But Zan could not grieve the loss of his cat because they had to rebuild their life. They had to arrange a place to live in, clothes to wear, and they need to revive back their life. They had to borrow money from his grandparents as they did not have their credit cards, cash, or any identity proofs to withdraw money from the bank. And after some days, the workers removed the remains of the burnt house, and he could see as they were living in the rented apartment nearby only. And Zan would visit his old house and see the workers. He wished to find his cat there. That was the only thing which was, there in his heart, and that's the reason why he was going back again and again so that, he could find his cat. Anyways, Zan thought that bad news spread faster because everyone, including all the teachers, knew about his sad story. The next day at school was really unusual. Zan was changing for the gym class when students started gathering around him and asked him to hurry into the gym class. Now, the students, when they brought him into the gym class, at that point he realized the reason why they have brought him there. Actually, there was a table full of articles like notebooks, clothes, stationery items, and every child, whatever he she could, get from the house, they have purchased for him, and it was looking like a Christmas time for Zan. He got emotional. He made new friends that day, and these friends, they all invited him to their houses, and he was moved by their concern for him. He felt relieved because it was for the first time that he felt something good was happening to him. He made new friends that day. And after a month, Zan visited his house as it was being rebuilt. He had two friends with him because that day when the friends, gifted him all the items, he made ample number of friends, and he was able to earn friendship of new children around him in the school. And that's the reason when he was sitting outside his old house seeing it to be rebuilt, he was having his friends around him, and he could sense that the incident transformed him. He came out of the negativity and he was able to find new friends. He realized that just like his house was being rebuilt, similarly his life was also being rebuilt. And one fine day, a very beautiful incident happened in his life. And what was that? It was basically that when Zan and his friends, they were sitting on the pavement and they were planning about Zan's new bedroom, a lady walked up to Zan from behind and patted on his shoulder and asked if the cat she was holding belonged to him. Zan, he grabbed his pet cat, held her close, and cried. Now, due to the fire, Zan's pet cat behaved strangely and it ran almost a mile away. The lady told him that although their phone number was written on her collar, but as their phone had been destroyed in the fire, the lady could not contact them. She made efforts to trace their address through the number and thus reached them. She could make out that the cat was being missed by her master because the cat was also sad and missed him. And at that point of time, he was really happy and thankful for getting a new life and, thanking his friends plus the kind woman who returned his cat. At that moment, he was feeling blessed and he understood that the incident which caused, grief in his life was actually a blessing in disguise. So that's all about this chapter, children. I hope you might have understood the chapter nicely. And if you have liked my content, please do not forget to drop a like, share, and subscribe my channel. Thank you so much.